And so, Bob, are you all set?
I am.
Okay, Brian, step 1.
Step 1. Report a brief situation or event that occurred, an everyday event when you began to work yourself up. Focus on a brief description of what happened, specifically, what triggered temper and symptom.
Well, it's been a couple of weeks since I've attended this meeting, and in between, my wife and I flew to Las Vegas for a few days. And the day before we were scheduled to leave, we were packing, and I saw that Dot was packing a suitcase far too big to be carry-on, and I immediately started to work myself up.
Step 2. Report the symptoms you experienced, both physical and mental. For instance, angry and fearful thoughts, confusion, palpitations, disturbing impulses, tightness in your chest, lowered feelings, sweaty palms, and so on.
Well, I had an immediate flare of angry temper.
Bob, when you were doing this, though, what thoughts did you feel in this step 2? What kind of angry thoughts did you have?
That this was unnecessary, that it was going to cause additional wasted time at the airport, both when we went and when we arrived. I had memories of previous occasions. I had a lot of insecure thoughts like, she always packs like we're going for 2 weeks when we're only going for 2 days, and just some preoccupation with it. I had some strong impulses to say something sarcastic, which I tend to do specifically because I know it really annoys her.
How about physical sensations? Did you have any when you
I
saw
felt
this?
very warm all over, which is the way I commonly feel when I get angry. I probably started sweating a little bit, and a lot of tension both in my chest and in my stomach.
Okay, great. Brian, step 3, please.
Step 3. Report your spotting of fearful and/or angry temper, the RI tools you use to help yourself, and your self-endorsement for your effort.
Well, one of the things I spotted was that the symptoms I was experiencing were distressing but not dangerous. I knew I could bear the discomfort of the symptoms. I also recognized that if I chose to keep it a triviality, it could be a triviality, that I had a choice whether I wanted to make a big deal about this or not. And I chose to keep it at the level of a triviality. I spotted that if I made a big deal out of it, I was going to suffer more, I was going to cause my wife some discomfort, and that it was just best for everybody if I could keep it trivial. I spotted that it was my imagination that was telling me it's going to take a lot more time at the airport. I didn't know that for a fact. And if I can jump ahead a little bit, it didn't cause us any additional commotion at all.
Tell me about your angry temper.
Well, I recognize that people do things that irritate us, not to irritate us. I don't pretend to understand why Dot takes as much as she does, but I don't have to understand. That's her business, and you know, that helped me defuse some of the temper.
Okay, good. Brian, step 4.
Step 4. Begin with, before I had my recovery training, and describe the temperamental reaction and symptoms you would have experienced in former days. What would have happened then versus now? This will help you note the progress you've made.
Well, before recovery, I would have given in to the impulse to say something sarcastic. We learn in recovery that if we hand out temper, we get temper back, and that's exactly what would have happened. It would have led to a serious argument, or very well might have. Before recovery, there were a lot of situations like this where I would work myself up to the point where in Nothing Flat I was absolutely furious. The argument would end with me screaming and my wife crying. I'm not proud of that, but it happened. And that didn't happen this time. I never said a word about it, not then, not at the airport, not any other time, and it all went very, very well. And I surely did endorse myself for my practice. I was very conscious of the fact that it went a whole lot better than it would have before recovery.
I spot some angry temper at Bob's wife for packing so much in the suitcase.
Mm-hmm. Taking so many things.
Can I comment on that?
No, I'm sorry, Bob. Maybe at mutual aid time you can, but we're not going to comment on our own example because you gave it to us.
Fearful temper in the guise of danger to Bob's social personality
Yeah.
if it took longer at the airport or...
Yeah, and on that plane and cramming it in the bin because it might not fit and all of that business.